Tatiana Valença.
Do you know someone who has diabetes? Have you already imagined what difference people that have this disease have in their lives? When I was a little kid, I got sick a lot, so I needed to take a lot of corticosteroids. With that, I also didn't have a lot of good eating habits, and my glucose levels started to rise up. So I went to my first endocrinologist. She told me I had type 2 prediabetes. I also went to a nutritionist, but my endocrinologist and my nutritionist couldn't get in a consensus about what should I do or what I shouldn't do. So I just disconsidered what they were telling me. Then the pandemic came, and my sister, who is a doctor, was worried about my glucose levels after a long period of time without doing exams. So she prescribed me a new blood test. According to the LAR Clinic website, the normal glucose levels in fasting are in between 80 and 100. Mine was 160, which is a lot. So my mom was the one responsible to getting the results, and she was the one who called me to tell me the bad news. When she told me, I got very scared because it's an incurable disease, and I didn't know anyone that had it, so I started to cry a lot, but I didn't want to cry in front of my mother. When she ended the phone call, at the same second, by coincidence, Mel, which is my best friend, called me, and she asked me why I was crying. So I told her the whole situation, and I got very worried because it was something new in my life and I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I wondered what type of diabetes I had. What am I going to do now that I have an incurable disease? How am I going to tell my friends and family? According to the Lifeline's website, diabetes type 2 or DM2 is developed with bad eating habits, lack of exercise, and genetic influence. On the other hand, diabetes type 1, it often shows up in an early age, and it means that your immune system or antibodies are attacking the insulin-producing cells of your pancreas. And insulin is responsible for decreasing the blood's glucose levels. The treatment for DM2 is easier. You have to take some pills, eat healthy, and make some exercise. Meanwhile, DM1 conduct is adjusting insulin doses, taking injections every time you're going to eat, changing needles, measuring your glucose levels before and after every time you eat, so it's not that easy. Then again, I went to a lot of doctors, I went to different endocrinologists, but some of them told me I had DM1, others told me I had DM2. So after a period of time, I started to wonder. A lot of people in my family have DM2. I'm not the greatest example of fit lifestyle, so probably I have diabetes type 2. Technically, that was supposed to be good because the treatment is way easier. But for me, it wasn't, because in my mind meant that I was responsible for my own disease. I started to feel very guilty. So the health professionals' doubt made me have another blood exam. And this time, it was going to show the amount of antibodies in me. The normal amount of anti-GAD, which is an antibody, is less or equal 10. And this was my result, 1,491. So yes, I had diabetes type 1. My doctor and my sister teach me everything about the disease and what I needed to know about it. I needed to use a glucometer every time I ate, and that was starting to be a problem because in a few days of the week, I needed to have lunch at school, and I didn't want anyone to know that I had the disease. And I needed to measure my glucose levels. So my family told me that I should use a Libre, which is this white thing in my arm there. But I didn't want to use it because people would start to comment and I didn't want them to see it. But now I use Libre and it's much easier to measure my glucose levels and less painful. However, sometimes people see that I use this device and make inconvenient comments. For example, I absolutely hate when someone that I don't know or that I'm not too close says, "You're so young and you already have diabetes," or "You can't eat that, it has too much sugar," or "Did your family give you too much sweets? That's why you have diabetes, right?" So it's not my fault that I have a disease, it's not my family's fault, and we can't control its cause. Only me and my family and close friends know how my body behaves when I have certain amounts of sugar. So no one should tell me what should I do and no one should comment about it because sometimes it hurts. But what about the parties? What can people with diabetes eat? So we can eat everything. It's all about balance. Of course, if I'm going to a birthday party, I'm not going to eat 100 different types of sweets. I will probably have only one brigadeiro, and after a long period of time I'm going to have another, but I'm not going to eat a lot at the same time. But it's possible to have a normal life, and it's not easy. Sometimes I'm going to eat the healthiest things that I could ever eat, and my glucose levels are going to be like that, which is very high. But that's when I know that I need to change my insulin doses. Sometimes it's not easy to live with it, but it made me realize that we need to be grateful of what we have, and it made me have a big sense of responsibility, because if I don't eat everything right, or maybe if I don't have my insulin doses, I know that something bad is going to happen. So it made me be very responsible. Thank you.